First thing I'd like to do is ask David, if he would, to open us with a word of prayer.
Before I say the prayer this morning, this is my last workshop with the Board of County Commissioners, and I certainly appreciate all the gratitude that's been coming my way, and I'm appreciative to all the past board members and the present board members, and it has been a beautiful little run, and I've met a lot of people that I always cherish their friendship. And David may be gone, but he ain't gonna be totally out of the picture. I'm gonna give everybody my cell number. If I can help you anyway, I'll sure do it, I promise. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this opportunity to stand in freedom this morning in the great United States of America. Lord, we realize that this country was founded on your name, and we do trust in you this morning. Lord, we just thank you for the elected officials that you have put in office, Lord, and blessed. We ask that all of their decisions and their debates will be in the center of your will. This morning we still pray for Bill and her loss. Lord, we pray for that comforting spirit like no one else can in her loss. We pray for comfort this morning. Bless our men and women serving abroad. Lord, just keep a safe hand upon them. Bring them back. Lord, we'll be so careful to give you the praise. In Jesus' name, and everybody said amen, amen.
Amen.
Friends, join me in the pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, with that, we'll get started on our workshop, and I'm going to make the first change on the agenda. I'm going to move Miss Ann Tiller to the front, and she's got a proclamation for Grandparent Alienation Awareness Day.
Hello. I will tell y'all I'm scared to death, so please bear with me, and this is a kind of touchy subject. But my name is Ann Tiller Haig. I lived and worked in Washington County for 28 years and 29 years respectively. My children grew up. They attended and graduated schools here in Washington County. One of my cohorts, Elsie Myrick, was unable to be here today due to sickness in the family. But I'm here today asking this board to proclaim Grandparent Alienation Awareness Day for June 14, 2016. The state of Florida has already done this, and I have a copy of that proclamation. I'm sorry, it's a tribute, if you would like to see that as well. We know one of the biggest ways to defeat grandparent alienation is to bring more awareness to those who know nothing or very little about alienation. With awareness comes education and understanding, and the power to stop the abuse of innocent children and the elderly left in alienation from the people they love. Laws must be changed as well to protect the rights of these alienated children and grandchildren to see all of their family members, even little cousins which are best friends. Now I'll read the proclamation. Whereas strong family relationships constitute the foundation of our communities, and we believe that the children and families of Florida deserve this day designated to create awareness and education for this little known and severe form of abuse. Alienation is a term used to describe any number of behaviors and attitudes designed to interfere. Whereas alienation behaviors are frequently present in high conflict divorces, separations, asymmetrical custody arrangements, and in intact marriages, often causing mental and emotional anguish to children. Whereas alienation is a term used to describe any number of behaviors and attitudes on the part of one or both parents designed to interfere, damage, or destroy the relationship between a child and family member. It is a form of abuse that causes emotional trauma to children. Whereas alienation takes advantage of the innocent and impressionable, as well as the suggestibility and dependency of a child, depriving children of their rights to love and be loved by their extended family. Whereas mental health professionals agree that the negative effects of alienation can follow a child into adulthood excuse me, with tragic consequences. Whereas the recently published Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders made several references to the dysfunctional family dynamic of alienation to be a form of psychological child abuse. Whereas Grandparent Alienation Awareness Day is intended to increase the knowledge and understanding of this problem to help families, institutions, the legal and mental health community, and leaders to better identify and combat such abusive behavior toward Florida's most vulnerable populations, our children and elderly. And I hope that somehow we can come up with this and maybe refine it if you would like for the board, to be more pertaining to this board. But I would ask for you to consider this. And I want to leave a legacy of love, whether I can be there or not. My story is the key that can unlock the prison of others. I don't know how my story will end, but nowhere will my text ever read, "I gave up." Because you see, I got it. That's my grandson's little saying, "Got it, Emma." So I'm asking you if you would consider this. And I always carry my candles and my candle and my pictures, because my candle's never going out till they're back home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Ann. I know you're nervous, but that was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
That was excellent. I would ask the board if everybody's in agreement that we'll get Jeff to look over the proclamation, make sure everything meets his satisfaction, and with that, we'll put that on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I have just one thing that I'd like to insert, and your story touches me also. I'll just leave it alone. Thank you very much.
I'm free to talk with you later or whatever.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing that,
Can I still add something to the agenda?
yeah,
And Johnny may talk about when he gets here if he's coming. I want to talk about the possibility of contracting out 4 PWs, 4 FEMA PWs, when we get down to the end.
John, he's gonna be about 9:30. He had to meet
Okay. And he
a
may
person
come.
at the landfill on a problem, so he'll be on. I'm gonna contract 4 FEMA projects.
I'm going to talk about it.
On the agenda items, Mr. Chairman.
yeah.
Hearing no other changes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
We don't necessarily have to adopt the agenda on this
You're right.
workshop.
Okay.
Because we can add to it, and take away from it, but
All right.
if you want to add
No.
something or anything, we can, it'll just help us keep stay on track. All right, so we'll go back to the top of the agenda, and Mr. Richard Williams, Executive Director with Career Source Chipola, and this has to do with our interlocal agreement.
This was under my part, but we asked Mr. Richard to come and explain everything. He'll do a better job than I could.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hearing that I was going to get to go first, I wasn't very nervous. It's always good to go first. You don't worry about the presentation in front of you, and when somebody gets up and does a wonderful job like that, it makes me nervous now. So thanks. That being said, Career Source Chipola, we're the Workforce Development Board for this area. We serve over from Holmes, Washington, Jackson, and down to Calhoun and Liberty counties. We have an interlocal agreement with you currently. What has happened is the federal government has changed the law They have gone from the Workforce Investment Act to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, so they've changed the letter on us. Instead of WIA, we're WIOA. And a few other minor changes in there in what that act requires, but one of the things that it did require that we do is go back and do another interlocal agreement. Nothing really changes in terms of how we operate. We still have a consortium of the 5 counties. They come together to make certain decisions. There's one representative from each county on that consortium. Then we also have a board of directors. You will still appoint the private sector members of that board of directors. You'll have recommendations that come from your local chamber. They'll come to you. We'll still provide you with the membership roster and their attendance at the meetings so that you know whether or not the people that you've appointed are actually attending. Any at-large members that we appoint come in front of the consortium, and the consortium appoints those to our board. Unlike maybe some other boards that you've dealt with, we don't handpick our members. We allow those groups to appoint who they want to represent their community. We think that's very important. I think it's also important to say that we are a private sector driven board. The majority of our membership has to come from the private sector. Our chair has to come from the private sector. And as you all know, that adds a little different twist to what we do. One other change that we're making that has nothing really to do with this agreement, but I want to let you know, we've just signed a management agreement with Opportunity Florida. Many of you have probably heard of that organization. We are now going to be managing that organization on a daily basis from our offices. That's going to be, I think, a very good change for us. It allows us to bring the tie between workforce development and economic development much closer together, so we're looking forward to that. But in terms of this agreement, we do need to pass this. It's been considered by several other counties. I've got to go make the same presentation, but there's really been no change between what you've already got and what we're asking for. So.
And Jeff's already looked at it.
Yes, sir. They've already done it in Holmes County.
Yes, sir.
But I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I did put a business card up there for you, so if you have anything you need to ask me later, feel free to call me anytime.
Through the process. Who is our representative? Is it Darren Wong still?
Darren is on the board, Zena Corbin's on the board, both of them have been chairman, and then Thomas Mead is on there from the private sector side.
Cool.
Then Martha Compton's also on there from the education side.
And then we have a board member, right?
Yes, you do.
Yours truly.
Yes. He attends the consortium meetings when we have those, and we have to have those from time to time for various items.
Opportunity Florida too, so
Yes.
I get both sides of it.
He does, he gets the opportunity for it as well, so. But you've always had good membership, and they've attended, and I think that's reflected when we send you the membership reports
Yes.
as well. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anything else?
I think we can put that on the consent.
Mr. Williams, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rich.
We'll put that on the consent agenda.
I will note that I'm the only commissioner there, but
We like that. Maybe you'll get smart.
Where's Miss Julie at? There she is. Miss Julie Dillard is going to get up, our extension agent, and talk about FDACS grant.
Thank you and good morning. A couple of
Good
weeks
morning.
ago, we got official notification that we did indeed receive an FDACS grant. That's facility funding for an agricultural education and promotion facility. The grant was cut from our request of $700,000 to $300,000. So what we'd like to do today is, on behalf of Karen and myself, we'd like to officially accept those funds. Karen and I spoke to Mr. Christ, who is the contract administrator with FDACS. And what we can do with those funds is actually put them under contract and hold them for a period of time. We'll also have to submit like a Plan B. That's included in with the letter as Exhibit A. But we include a Plan B just in case that the governor's office does not allow us to hold those funds. But what we'd like to do is reapply for these grant funds again. This is standard protocol with this type of grant, especially since we received such a significant cut. But Karen and I would like to reapply for this grant funding so that we can hopefully build a brand new agricultural center for Washington County.
Love your thought process. What is the grant cycle? And you're gonna reapply.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, it runs on a fiscal year, so the grant funds will actually they'll actually be held for us through FDACS. July 1st is the beginning of that fiscal year. The grant cycle is October 1st, and then notification, or the due date for that is October 1st, and then we should be notified whether or not we receive an additional funds in the month of April of 2017.
April. Okay. Right now, we've got some real issues.
Right.
Is there any plan, again, I love your thoughts on this. Has there any discussion or any thought process been put into some of the immediate issues that we have? I know that we've got an AC unit out, we've rented one that's extremely expensive. I understand not wanting to replace it because before you do that, you'd want to put a roof on. I understand. Has any thought process been put to, I like the idea. Again, I just want to know what's been discussed, and have we got one we can transfer over there? Have we got any other alternatives? I know the short-term emergency situation, I commend y'all's decision, and you made one, which is great, and you solved the problem, but we have a hereafter, which is a monthly fee,
Returning those fees.
which is pretty healthy. Have we made any thought process about moving forward, and we're talking about another year, to know if we've got the fund, and then it's going to get into the planning stages, blueprints, and so you really realistically could be looking into a 3-year
Oh, definitely.
rental
Yeah.
thing there. So that's not the immediate fix that you had on the AC unit is not a long-term
It's not a long-term fix.
plan.
Our talks that we've had so far, Mr. Abbott, is Train is working on our financing part that the board agreed upon.
Right.
And a new unit is in that plan.
Okay.
Now, I got some preliminary reports on the roof, through cliff, and it's high.
Okay, can we, and I just want to pursue other options. Is that something that we can bring off the roof and put on the ground? There's a lot of options. And I just want to make sure that we're exercising them options, studying them options, and making.
And Mr. Ken has talked too with Cliff. He knows some of the preliminary figures that we looked at on just the roof alone. Then we got some foundation issues. We also got some structural issues. You know, 300,000 wouldn't get you far.
No.
But it would fix some immediate things. I'm hoping that
I don't want to use them funds. I mean, I don't know if we can, through this process with the AC and the upgrades and all, can we move these off of the roof and put them on the ground so it'll still be a good unit, not have to affect the roof? And I don't want to get into y'all's
I think so.
stuff. I just,
Cliff can probably answer that better than I can because he's been working on it, but I do think we can move them to the ground.
okay. I mean, do you concur? I mean, I don't want to spend the money.
Right.
I like your thought process. I like y'all's studying, the effort that you put forth, but there's some other immediate issues. I don't know if we're still funneling water into the facility. I don't know if we've got it patched. I don't know. I know that we've got a major AC unit. I know that we can't abandon the Ag Center.
Yeah, we have major issues that go way beyond just the AC unit.
Yes, ma'am.
The internal gutter system is failing, so that's what's causing the leaks throughout the entire building. We have the structural issues where the stage is sinking in the back, and that's caused the cracks from the ceiling all the way down to the floor.
That's why we're after the grants.
Right, exactly. So if there's other ways to fix that AC system as a temporary fix until we can get enough money to build a new center, because that's really, I hate to see any money spent on that building because it is in terrible condition and it's deteriorating, you know, on a daily, weekly basis, so.
And I agree. Really, the 300,000 is not going to begin to fix what's
It
wrong with that
really
building.
won't. You know, it would just be flushing the money down the toilet, honestly.
Yeah, long term for sure.
I have a question though. I mean, what do you do at the end of the day? I mean, can you just walk off and leave that building, or do you tear it down?
No, you'd have to tear it down.
Yeah, it would be a.
So that would be,
Yeah, I mean, if you left it standing, you still got them county, the problem still
that's
exists.
what I'm saying. So I mean,
Yeah, you're going to have to bulldoze it down.
golly. I mean, and what are the odds of us getting enough money to, I mean, have you priced a new facility by chance? I mean, to get
Yeah, you know, we're going to need $1 million to begin the project. Gadsden County and Union County have both been successful with this same grant. Gadsden County just broke ground on their facility this year. They had 3 applications that they put in. So it was a 4-year process before they actually broke ground. They are completely bulldozing their facility and starting from the ground up. And they have the same issues that we have. You know, it was built in the 60s. You know, it's just in terrible condition. So the likelihood of us getting the grant are very high. You know, Karen and I talked to Mr. Christ on the phone the other day. He was very positive about it. But now he did say have a plan B in place.
With that being said, if it's a 4-year process, I mean, has Cliff looked at it and said, okay, it'll last 4 years, or, I mean, can we at some point get an idea on that? I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't want to get caught, I mean, waiting.
Right.
Do we have anybody facing the building on the left side at all?
Just storage for the clerk's building.
Okay, but that's it.
Right.
Is it adequate storage? I mean, is it temperature controlled? And
Yeah.
Okay,
They
so
were
it's-
former offices that were rented out to NRCS and FSA offices.
But now, the middle office, we've got it closed down.
Yes.
Are we monitoring that at all?
Yes. We went and Robert's done some work on it.
We check it once a week or something? Okay.
It's still leaking.
Oh, yeah.
I went as far as looking for other land because you got other issues. You've got parking issues there. You cannot park everybody during the watermelon festival or when the kids got their youth fair going on. It's not adequate parking. And I've looked at some land. To me, you're gonna be better off to set a committee and some of the local people, the business people, and some of the commissioners set on it and look for a good spot to put your new accent because it's coming.
But there's adequate, I say adequate, there's unused space there
Yes.
now. There's space that's not being utilized by buildings and parking. I mean, there's wasted space there on that piece of property. I'm not saying that we don't need to research and set a committee and make other options, but at the end of the day, I happen to agree the building's gonna have to be tore down.
Yes, it's bad.
For
Well, there's
a
one
long
wing
term.
you wouldn't even have to have. If
Right.
you were to rebuild what you truly need there,
Mhm.
Right,
You
we
just
need a
do
large
away with one
auditorium
side of that,
space,
so
we
you
need
have
a
that
conference
Yeah, that would help,
room,
but if you
a
let
large
it-
conference
Yeah.
room, a small conference room,
Yeah.
and then the suite of offices for
Yeah.
the extension office.
Well, I mean, when the place was built, that big auditorium, I mean, that was the dirt floor, that's where people showed their livestock.
Right.
And then we
And
went
the
in
sides
there,
are where they held the cattle.
yeah, and we went in there and flooded the floor with concrete, I got it, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I recognized it, there's been a lot of changes.
Oh, yeah, yes, since the
And-
60s.
There's also another acre or so there that's available.
Yeah, that rental house and them
Mhm.
3 trailers, that's been offered to us for a good price 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
That
I'd just
would
like
be
to see us
little
put a
more
good plan together.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But, you know, what we need to do first of all is to set these funds and then submit Exhibit A. So that's what I'd like us to do today. But yeah, I definitely think we need to put a good planning committee together to see where we'll go for, especially if we get the funds in the next year. We do hopefully hit that $1 million mark.
Julie, are there any time constraints on those grants? In other words, do you have to have them spent within 2 years or 3 years? Can you hold them indefinitely? I mean,
You can't hold them indefinitely, you hold them from year to year. So the fiscal year begins July 1, and so you've got those funds for that year that you have to account for. So now we can hold the $300,000, you just have to account for it that following year to say what you're going to use it for. We also have to submit to the governor's office a return on investment, which I'll take care of through my office. We keep that data anyway, and we report that data to you for the end of the year. So we have to show that we have plans for that money and how it's going to benefit the community.
I just want to make sure that I get a copy of all the correspondence.
Oh, absolutely.
Personally,
Sure.
all the correspondence is going back and forth.
Sure.
And, I mean, I feel like I want to accept the monies
yeah,
from,
Yeah, that's
put
a
them to
given.
consent.
Yeah.
I just need to know more information.
Right.
And you
Except-
can,
Yeah, I mean, you and I talked about it, and I agree. If that is a viable option, should just keep requesting, and undoubtedly it's been done in a couple counties, so.
is there another grant that we can apply for that can go with it? You know what I'm saying? And it's all about the youth, and the whole facility is,
Right, yeah, I mean, that's the purpose of the grant is for agricultural purposes. So everything that our office does is where you get that return on investment. You know, we're training people to use pesticides wisely, you're training farmers to improve their pasture, you're training youth, you're training volunteers, you're, teaching people canning procedures. So we've got the definite return on investment. There is a grant available, I believe, through USDA that does rural rehabilitation on existing facilities. I thought that's what David had talked about, possibly looking into that grant to temporarily upgrade or to fix the AC problem. But I think that, that we can tag team on those funds through USDA.
just want to make sure that we're,
Oh, yeah.
you
Here in
know,
our
exhausting
audit.
all the efforts and,
Right.
yeah. It's not a long-term fix renting that ACU.
Oh, no.
No, I know that.
I just want to see I just want to see that get corrected.
Well, shouldn't that be
And I think
correct?
Train's gonna come in and make a recommendation as soon as financing is available.
Okay,
And y'all will be good there, and they set it on the grant.
Okay.
I do believe.
okay, cool.
So that part will be fixed, but that's not gonna fix the major problems.
So we would like to reapply. October 1 will be the deadline for that grant. We've got more pictures to show the deterioration of the building. And, what really needs to happen is constituents need to call the governor's office, email the governor's office, and let them know how valuable that building is to our community. It serves as a community center for the entire county.
If we put a plan together and you distributed the plan, and David, if you could get involved in that, just distribute the plan where we can all be singing the same song.
I
You
think
know what I'm
that's our
saying?
best method of attack.
And we
for
can
sure.
get the newspapers and stuff behind it,
Right.
and ask the community to solicit, the governor's office, and I mean, it's a real need. It's all about the kids. It's tomorrow, it's the people.
There's your media outlets right there.
Yeah.
Well, Jim's
print it
gonna be
up.
logging to the state of Florida too, so she's got.
Yeah, we
some
have to
additional-
get the appropriation for the money sponsored through either Representative Drake or our senator. So they are the ones that walk it through, and they're our champions on the ground in Tallahassee once we get that grant submitted. So,
And they are aware of it.
oh,
You
yes,
got the
yeah.
grant.
Hey, we can do it.
Hey Julie, what the gas account?
The first year they got 500,000, and then they got 750,000, and then an additional
So they've been
300,000
able to
this
roll
year.
theirs?
Yeah, for 3
They'll both
years.
still hurt.
And Union County did the same thing too, 3 years before they actually broke
I
ground.
just want to be able to survive that long.
I know,
We come close to getting 700,000.
yeah. I don't want to go in a portable.
Hey, y'all
but,
fell
yeah.
half short. Close
My
is
fault, I sure
600.
give you.
Yeah, that, I mean,
know,
that was the
I know.
governor. I spoke to the governor's office probably 2 weeks before we got the official word that it had been funded, and his aide went ahead and told me, he said it's going to be cut severely.
Yeah.
But that's just how everything went this year.
And respectfully so, we had to.
Well, and it's our,
We're
it
gonna be
was,
sending the governor a check here pretty soon.
and it was
Maybe
our
we can
first
mention that next
application.
Ask for it back.
Yeah,
And
can we just redirect it?
Please just endorse it and send it back.
yeah, we've got a plan.
I was so pitiful, I made Jackie cry.
We can put this on the consent.
As far as I'm concerned.
We'll accept the grant for certain, and then we'll just plan on reapplying in October. And I do have a good contact in the governor's office. I'll have to hunt her number up, but she was one of them that helped us tremendously with the courthouse. She
And that's
really
what-
is.
that's
She's
what
the
we're
one
going to
that
need.
worked it. She's the one that stayed there and kept calling back saying, no, the governor ain't gonna do it unless you do this. The governor ain't gonna do,
Jill, I don't want to pretend like I'm tasking you with anything. David,
I gladly take it on, it's where I spend, the majority of my day.
I know,
Yeah, Julia, make sure you get in the loop on the correspondence.
Absolutely.
because he's a short timer now.
Right,
But I
right.
just want to make sure that
Oh, yeah. Anytime you have questions, or, you know, you want me to give you an update, I'm 100% available for that.
Thank you, Miss
you.
Julie. All right. The next agenda item is the integrated library system, Miss Renee Roundtree. And while she's coming up, I sure want to brag on Miss Renee. Of course, I do every time I see her, and she knows it, and I'm afraid that I do it so much now she don't even appreciate it anymore, but
That's not true.
but she helped with the movie night down at Wausau Friday night, and I went to it, me and Lena T did, and it was really something.
It was.
It was really something. They played, after the ball game, they had a movie under the Possum Palace, The Sandlot, which is, you know, y'all know is a ball game. And Miss Renee counted 193 people.
Yeah.
Donna Taylor counted over 200. So, but now those youngins like counting ants. They're everywhere under that building. I don't know how either one of them, because I was trying to just grasp how many there were, but it was really something.
Very successful.
That's something for a little old town of Wausau. I think about 300 people live there.
I heard
We had about 200 people there watching the movie, and
Yeah.
they had free popcorn and free drinks, and she had rented a big old Friends Library, I guess, funded it.
They funded the movie screen rental, yes.
But she did the coordination, and it was a inflatable, like the blow-up slides and all, except for it was a screen. And it really, the projector did a great job
It
on
was very
that.
nice.
I heard wonderful things last night at the ball field from all the parents.
That's
I
good.
got to miss it, but I heard wonderful things.
We are very fortunate to have Miss Renee.
Oh, yeah, but it was really something. All I heard was just positive things. I had an older couple come up. A lot of them was little kids, but there was an older couple there. And they come up and were like, wasn't this great? We need to do this every Friday night, you know? I'm like, well,
Well, maybe not every Friday night. But I appreciate it. I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it. We were, it's kind of one of those things where you just take a leap of faith and you really hope that you're going to see a return on investment. And our Friends of Library group was very excited to do something nice for the town of Wausau and for the Wausau Rec Department.
Donna Taylor and James Walsingham did a great job getting the crowd out there.
They did.
They worked hard. James Walsingham's doing a good job down there
He
as
is, he
athletic
is.
director.
We love to support our community any way we can. So today, I have a third bid finally for the integrated library system. That's what we postponed last workshop. And this is just for us to get out of the library cooperative. We're gonna essentially close our system to just Washington County. So if you'll notice, there's three quotes, and the lowest quote is the Bywater Solutions quote. And the total first year cost is $12,600. And then the second year cost is, and continuing cost would be $4,900 a year. So it's not very expensive. E-rate reimbursement is going to take care of the migration, which is the $7,700. I didn't budget that reimbursement into my budget this year simply because I wasn't sure that I was going to get it. But at this point, I received 2 of the 3 checks, so it shouldn't affect my budget at all. And then it looks like we might get a little bit more state aid money, so I can easily float the second year cost.
And you're getting much more benefit out of
Right, yeah,
by making a change.
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, you put that on the consent agenda. It's something, Renee, that you've been working on for quite some time.
Yes, and it'll just be the Cohog Bywater solution, and it's definitely the most affordable. So, and it's all on their servers, so we don't have to have extra equipment at our location or anything. It's all just internet-based.
Everybody in favor of that?
I'm good.
And then I actually have a copy of the contract, and I'll just get it to Jeff to look over for Cohog.
I received a letter from a commissioner in Calhoun County that although he wasn't happy that we were leaving the clicks,
Yeah,
he bragged on you, of course bragged on David. I put it in David's box, but he was, you know, he wasn't happy we were leaving, but at the same time he was understanding, and he was thankful for everything that you and David had contributed. So.
yeah, and I'd like to brag on David because he cooked yesterday's library cooperative board. It was delicious. We need to keep him around only if he can have a new job as a
He
caterer.
cooked for his going away party.
Well, he did the ribs and we bought the rest, so.
You wanted to make sure you liked the food.
That's right.
Y'all done the easy stuff, right? I've heard that
Yeah.
before. I've done that, I've heard that before.
But he's been wonderful to be a big supporter of the library, and that's made my job a lot easier. And also your support has made my job a lot easier, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms.
Also, kudos to Johnny for dropping the check and the book drop on Friday. Thank you.
All right, we've got a variance request. Miss Caitlin, I think she's got the agenda almost from here out.
Yeah, she's all okay. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. This is a variance request to subdivide the property and also a variance to the side yard setback requirement. The property is located east of Chipley. It has road frontage on Highway 90 and also the corner lot on Candy Kitchen Road. Here's an aerial zoomed in, and I just sort of identified approximately. She wants to subdivide her property. She lives at 289 Highway 90, which is this smaller house right here, and she wants to sell and subdivide this piece of property here. It's approximately 1.2 acres. She did get it surveyed out, and both homes were built prior to our land development code and comprehensive plan in the 1985 and then 1965. She does have 2 sheds, which you can kind of see right here, and those are accessory structures, and after the survey was done, they don't meet the 10-foot side yard requirement for accessory structures. It would only be 4.1 feet from the western property line. It is an agriculture silviculture, which is usually 1 unit per 4.5 acres. However, these 2 homes were put on the property prior to that requirement. Here is the survey that was done. Once again, you can see that this is the portion that would be sold off. And then she would be keeping this small house here, which includes 2 sheds, and there's also a pole barn here that's not shown.
Is that on the east side of Candy Kitchen Road?
West.
No.
It's gotta be east.
The little house.
Where's the
here,
Candy Kitchen Road at?
Down here at the end?
Right here.
Oh, there.
So it is on the east side.
Yes.
I think I know exactly, yeah, there's been some issues there as far as flooding.
Yeah, it is, you're correct. It's on the east
That's by
side.
the Jackson County line.
Yeah.
Pass it every day.
And so the plan would be, excuse me, that if she's allowed to subdivide and sell this house, there's a driveway there, but then she would access off of Candy Kitchen Road. There's an orchard here that she would like to keep. There's 2 different addresses. Both have their own separate septic tanks, power, all of that. So there wouldn't be an issue with subdividing and selling it off in that respect. We got 1 phone call just wanting more clarification about the request and how she was wanting to kind of subdivide the property, but it didn't have an issue with the request. The Planning Commission did recommend approval at their May 3rd Planning Commission meeting. And her hardship that she's stating is that essentially she does have medical issues. Her and her husband, at this point, they are older and just don't have the ability to keep up with 2 homes. There was a pipe leak at one point when they were gone traveling. They travel on an RV quite frequently.
Recently.
Yeah, and according to her, they've paid a significant amount of money to
Renovate.
yes, renovate and improve the home so that it's up to a good standard but at this point, they don't want to keep responsibility of both homes. They'd like to sell the larger home.
Now, the front of that house, the way that they're wanting to develop, and just from my personal knowledge, the front of the house that they're moving into or have already moved into, on the back there. How far is the front of that house from the property line that they're wanting to cut out? The front of it, the front of the house?
Are you talking about the one that they want to sell?
No, the one that, the property, the house that they're living in right now is right there.
Right there.
Okay, how far is that from the property line that they're wanting to divide off, cut off?
I think it's about, survey, but I think it's about 30 feet.
Okay.
Is my
So-
understanding.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So they can actually access their place from Highway 90 or from Candy Kitchen Road, either one.
Yeah, she said basically there's a fence up there and there's the ability for them to drive off of Highway 90. It's not really a formal driveway. Right now they kind of have a shared driveway, and what they've done is that driveway, shared driveway, will be for the property that they're selling off, and that, you know, most likely she still might use that other access, the informal one, but to get a driveway permit for here too, so then they can just come through the back, 'cause they also do that quite often as well.
Okay, I mean, but it's not addressed off of Candy Kitchen Road at all?
It's not.
Okay. Now, did the planning commission suggest that approving this if they get a driveway permit, or was that not even discussed?
No, it was not
Okay.
discussed.
But that was my question too, is what, to make sure that there's two driveways.
There's two access points right now. She does go through here to get to her property. There's a gate, or, you know, I saw it on the street view of Google Maps. And both are addressed off of Highway 90. My concern really was that, you know, with road frontage, but the way she's subdividing the property, there's nothing prohibiting her from using the Candy Kitchen
Right.
Road as road frontage, but it doesn't require them to have the address off of it. So I think the planning commission found that sufficient.
Yeah, you've answered all my questions. I'll recommend approval.
Any other questions, Ms. Caitlin? David, I think you've got consensus of the board. We'll follow the planning commission's recommendation. All right, the next, you're up again, Ms. Caitlin.
This item is regarding the vacant position for at-large member for the planning commission. We had accepted volunteer applications for about a month, and at the last workshop, you had directed planning staff to coordinate with the county coordinator to review the applications and come back before you for a recommendation. We did do that. We got together, reviewed the applications themselves, and then we came up with some standard questions and called each of the 3 applicants and asked them the questions. And so based upon that review, we are recommending the nomination of John Gay based upon the phone interviews and the volunteer applications.
Questions for Ms. Caitlin?
You had 3 applicants?
Everybody satisfied with that? All right, we'll put that on the consent. You're up again, Ms. Caitlin.
This item is a small-scale future land use amendment from general commercial to low-medium density residential. You may recognize this property. He had come before you all to waive the fee a couple months ago, but this is a separate, you know, application. This is for the actual review of the property and the amendment itself. So the subject property is actually located within the city limits of Vernon on Highway 277. Here is the future land use map. The red indicates commercial. It's surrounded actually by low-medium density residential. Here's just a site plan. He showed they're required to submit just kind of an idea of what they're trying to do, but it's preliminary. A neighborhood information meeting is required for a land use amendment. He held it on April 20th at 5 p.m. at the Vernon Community Center. Had about 6 residents, and myself was there, and the applicant the questions really centered around how he would construct the buildings and how they would be maintained, just making sure that they would not diminish surrounding property values. Also wanted to know, make sure that they weren't mobile homes, was one of their concerns. And he explained that they would not be mobile homes, they would be single family kind of stick structure home, and renters would be required to maintain the yard, but he does have the ability, he lives within 15 minutes, so he says, to kind of address any issues that may happen if renters are not keeping up with maintenance and other issues. One citizen just wanted clarification, thought maybe that the whole entire strip was being amended to low-density residential. They did have some concern with that, just that it being one of the entrances into Vernon, and thought that there should be some commercial property there. But she was fine when she knew that it was just for the applicant's property. She did not have any issue with that.
Ms. Caitlin, if you back up about right there.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I questioned initially when this was brought to my attention, is just those lots right there are commercial.
Right.
Not those on the opposite side of the street,
Right.
not those to the north or those to the south. It just seemed odd. I just wondered how that came to be, where just those lots are commercial.
Yeah, I believe that probably the intent was that, usually on sort of a corridor such as this, if you could call it that, you typically have some commercial development heading into the downtown area. But it appears that there was already residential there predating the comprehensive plan.
There's nothing commercial around it.
No.
There's nothing commercial close to it anywhere. And then all of a sudden, there's one strip of lots that are designated commercial.
Yeah.
Really, that might have been one where the overlay would have worked really well instead of changing their.
Yeah, and I can only speculate, but I would imagine if we actually try to build commercial there, that some property owners surrounding it may have, thinking that this is residential in nature, they weren't really expecting a commercial development to go up there.
Just an oddity that it's that way.
Yeah.
I don't know why or how or whatever, but.
Yeah, and furthermore, in our comprehensive plan, low-medium residential density is made for single-family residential settings in municipalities, because it's just a tad bit more dense, which you can find, more in the downtown core. So that's what the surrounding properties all are, the low-medium residential. He did go before the city of Vernon, and they had no issue with the change, and provided so that they have availability to hook up for central water and sewer. Really looking in terms of compatibility to the east, west, and north are all residential homes already. Granted by cliff, things like this typically, if you're going from commercial to residential, tend to be less impactful in terms of transportation. All right, and that's the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And since this is a small scale amendment, should it be approved, it needs to be sent to DEO, but it doesn't have to go through that whole transmittal. It would be approved here.
What action do you need from the board?
It will have to be technically, be on public hearing, and it could go to consent. And then just approval of the ordinance that's been provided.
Yeah, public hearing, and then approval of the ordinance after the public hearing.
Help me out, Jeff. What do we need? What does David need to put on the consent agenda? Give me some word.
If you want to put on the consent agenda approval for whatever the ordinance number is that Caitlin will give him regarding the small-scale future land amendment. And she'll give him a copy of the ordinance to be approved.
Okay, I just want to ask you one thing, I just want to get it straight in my mind. What is the difference in this and a subdivision?
A subdivision would be if they are, so basically, this would kind of be considered like a minor replat technically. It's a sort of re-subdivision of land, but you're joining properties together. If you're joining a property with another property together, it's exempt from the code in terms of platting process. When you're subdividing, that's essentially what would require you to then go through the platting procedures. And that's really kind of the difference, to be subdividing properties for different lots to then be sold off.
All right.
Caitlin, you got that for a public hearing set?
Yes.
Go ahead with the next one.
So that public hearing be before the meeting, is that what you're gonna do?
Right.
Okay.
So to move on. Finally, this is a plat vacation for a portion of the Seminole Plantation plat. Here is a location map. As you can see, it's a large piece of property. I think it's about 620 acres. It's in the southern portion of the county on the west side of Highway 77, north of Highway 20.
Bigger than that. It goes all the way from Crystal Lake to Vernon.
I got this from property appraiser, I don't know. Here's an aerial. It's currently undeveloped. This is on the plat, it's called Lake Helen. On the property appraiser, it's called Compass Lake, so I think the name has changed a couple times.
I think some people call it Cogburn Lake.
Cogburn Lake, yeah.
Not compass.
And so,
It is really like that comes like too.
this property is currently, I believe, fenced off. It's undeveloped for the past, 50, 60 years. To the north and east, and then in that kind of southeast portion, there are residential developments.
I wonder if we could put us a boat ramp in that little corner of Crystal Lake. Have some parking.
I don't know how you'd access it.
He's kidding, Caitlin.
Oh. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm still catching on here.
I was throwing you a curveball.
Here's the future land use map. It is all agriculture, silviculture. I just wanted to show you, I know it's tiny, but this is the plat in its entirety. It's pretty large. And then the red is the portion requested to be vacated. Here it is zoomed in. I just wanted to distinguish that on the property appraiser, it shows that the Cogburns own this right here, outlined in blue. However, that's thrown some people off, just some of the citizens, just wanting to make sure that this request is not related to this portion here. We did have one citizen come to the Planning Commission meeting and just wanted to make sure, but the applicant did verify that that is not part of the request. It's just this portion outlined in red. The Planning Commission did recommend approval. At the time, they wanted a specific purpose survey, and that was basically from the county engineer's request to make sure that what they were vacating would not conflict with the existing road, be it Amos Hayes, Fawn Ridge, or Crystal Lake. And that's really due to the age of this whole area. And typically, they are also requesting a variance. Typically, if you're vacating a portion of a plat, and some of that is right-of-way, the portion that's left, you have to replat, but really due to the age and just kind of the issues with this whole area, the county engineer thought it was best to do the specific purpose survey. So what that does and accomplishes is that you see the whole property reverted in acreage, but then you also see the external lots and roads to ensure that those are all kept and no one's being denied convenient access to their property. And so this is the specific purpose survey that they did provide following the Planning Commission meeting. And the only issue was that there's just, I think it's this little tiny section here that's outside the platted right-of-way for Crystal Lake Drive. So the engineer is recommending an easement dedicated to the county to make sure that we maintain public access and, you know, they don't try. Right now, I think there's a fence that's going around it.
I had a few concerns about this, and that was one of them. I wanted to make sure that whatever we do, whatever happens in this petition, that we make sure our roads are actually, however it's written up in the future, our roads are actually where they should be, or well, they're probably not where they should be.
Right.
But new property descriptions reflect where they're at, I guess.
Where they should be.
He does have the right of way to be able to maintain.
Because we've got that everywhere down there on that Seminole plant, all those Seminole plantation areas, the roads aren't really where they're supposed to be according to the property descriptions. But as long as the property description is written up to where it reflects where our roads truly are and not where they're supposed to be, that would be good. The other thing is I want to make sure that portion that you showed in blue there is truly accepted out of this petition. And
We don't claim
although,
ownership of it.
huh?
We don't even claim ownership of it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think you would, because it's below the water line, basically.
It's in the water.
So, but to make sure that's excluded. The other thing is, I just somehow or another want assurance that although we've never utilized access to that lake, the county, that in the future, if it's ever developed or if the things change, that we actually, during that planning process, make sure we gain access to the lake.
Sure.
So, for the county residents I'm
Yes, sir.
talking about.
When the owner of this property came to the county a few months ago to vacate this 90-year-old plat, our first concern and Caitlin's first concern and Cliff's first concern was to make sure that all of the exterior dedicated right-of-way in the plat remained intact, so that all property owners, whether it's improved or unimproved at this time, would always have access with these dedicated right-of-way. So our first request to the applicant was, we need you to ensure, one, that everything that was dedicated 90 years ago as public access remains that way. And the second request that you hit on was, if there is improvement with respect to a road, and it's not on our right-of-way, and it's on your property, that basically you give us an easement into perpetuity with respect to that. So our goal was to make sure that if you're a citizen of Washington County, the day after this is approved, you know no difference. There is no change to how you see this. And if you're an outside property owner and this was your dedicated access, and a lot of this is unimproved, it's just dedicated, never improved, but we'll continue to keep that on the perimeter. So there should be no effect on the citizens of Washington County as to what they see today. One of the issues that came up is this is a 90-year-old plat, and they platted this in a way kind of like Crystal Lake. We would not be able to plat that under our current code, because it's just not good for the lake or the people of Washington County. So what this will do, the vacating of this plat will do, is if the property owner ever comes back to us 20, 30 years from now and says, we would like to subdivide this into lots, it will be replatted in a way that meets our current standards, because that one she showed a second ago that's 90 years old is in no way in conformity with our standards. One of the concerns that the planning commission had was there is in the 90-year-old plat, there's a 30-foot right-of-way that basically brings you kind of down here to the middle of this property and somewhat adjoins the lake right there. they had concern about waiving the right to that road. A couple of things with that. This property is completely fenced in, and I've been able to track it back for about 50 or 60 years at least. Most people that drive past here don't even know that this is even in here. So it's never been accessed by the citizens of Washington County. And the second issue is basically where this road goes. There's a spring in here that's really nearby that. I don't even think if you wanted to put a road in that the DEP would allow it. And so what we've requested of the applicant and what we've discussed is basically vacating everything in the red here with the understanding that if it's ever platted again, like Chairman Bush said, that it would fall within the conformity, which would actually be better for us than what is there right now. And another thing that we would be getting out of this is, as we know, our roads versus where we're platted to be sometimes are off in the subdivision. So at least these people that have lots around this area will know that there's not going to be some sort of access issue in the future, because we're going to clear that up as part of this process. And so that's kind of the story of where we're at. And again, this property is shown on the property appraisers, but I think this is just the 40 line that's being shown. I don't think that there's never been any claim to this by the applicant. So that was how we approached this, and would be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
I don't have any questions. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we can put that on the consent agenda, and that unimproved road that was in there, I mean, that's within their fence, that's their property, as far as I'm concerned, and it should go away.
So I don't see it but anything but a win for the county. I mean, that truly is. I mean, they're willing to.
And the property owner. Yeah, it's a win-win.
To release that plat, but I don't think I would ever do it, but
Yeah.
they're willing to do it because they want the property to enjoy. So
They want
I
their property
support
to
it.
enjoy.
Yep.
We will, we're gonna have a public hearing on this next week. We will vary the report given or the resolution provided so that all roads are vacated within the platted area. And we will have that amendment for you next week. We'll have a public hearing on the issue, so anybody from the public that's got questions or concerns can ask those. And then we will take action on that via the appropriate resolution and documentation next week. Anything else, Kate, you think of?
The resolution then will be, it has to be recorded obviously, and then it'll have the exhibit of the specific purpose survey to kind of serve as the replat, so that will always be associated with this.
So we will.
You'll be ready. You'll be off and running after the public hearing next week.
Yeah.
So as far as board action now.
Nothing. You giving us direction. And we'll have you something to vote on next week and hear the public comment before we do it.
Follow up on something you said, Todd, Commissioner Abbott.
Todd's fine.
We need to just always be on the lookout for property close to those two landings down there at Crystal Lake. That's reasonably walking distance close. And if anything ever becomes available, that would be nice to have, where you could launch your boat, park, and walk back. Because we got two landings down there, but there's literally nowhere to park. And I know there was, that's in that Seminole Plantation, not too far from one of those landings, you can get to that Seminole Plantation, and there was some property available up there, like in 5-acre increments, but that's just something.